So today's session we will discuss about the static and dynamic characteristics of transducer. Last class itself I told transducer is a general term for both sensor and actuators, and sensor is nothing but it will convert real time values into electrical, and actuator is just reverse of it. You give a electrical input and you will have mechanical or any other form of charge. Okay, you cannot only say it as mechanical. There are some more type conversion is also possible with respect to transducer. We will sorry actuators. So we call by a name called a transducer. Okay, so even in your question, if they ask draw and explain static and dynamic characteristics of sensor or actuator or transducer, if they say all are same, then we will start with the classifications of sensor. So in under the classification we will try to in today's class we will discuss about one type. So in upcoming classes we will go with the rest. Okay, so starting with characteristics, static characteristics, there is two type of characteristics that you have to clearly understand what is meant by static and what is meant by dynamic. Okay, I think you might all seen voltmeter in lab. That voltmeter, some voltmeter you might have initially you might have adjusted and kept at a particular value, and then you will go on load and try to take leading. Okay, so initially some meters will be in zero. When you constantly load, then there the pointer will try to move, and that characteristics we call it as dynamic characteristics. And static characteristics is you have fixed a particular meter in a particular volts. I am right, you might have kept it in 230 volts. So thereafter that characteristics we call it as static characteristics. So you have fixed at a particular value and your needle will be pointing at that particular value. There will be only a small change. If there is any load is your current will gradually increase, so increase in current will gradually step down, and that variation we call it as static characteristics. Or in other words, only if the meter is in ideal case we call it as static. Okay, even you might have seen some some operation where you constantly read the voltage where the pointer will be always showing it as 230. Some display units like you might have seen in floor mill and all. Floor mill, they will fix this meter and they will constantly see what is the voltage. At that case, that voltage needle will not start from zero itself, it will be constantly showing 230. So that type of characteristics we call it as static characteristics. And the characteristics where it is from 0 to maximum scale, it's go on in variation, you call it as dynamic characteristics. For example, when you want to measure earthquake and all, the instrument which you use is going to record the vibration, and that equipment and all, it will be constantly moving. So that characteristics we call it as dynamic characteristics. Okay, so that is the difference between static and dynamic. So in static characteristics we say this characteristics depends upon at a fixed temperature, so temperature should not vary, that is plus or minus 10 degrees allowed, but you should not have a gradual temperature change, because if you have gradually, if the temperature is changing, automatically your reading will also change. So then in that case, that reading we cannot call it as static, that will become dynamic. Okay, so humidity also will be 90% when you are near to coastal areas. When you move away from coastal areas, then the humidity will fall. Then pressure, normal pressure we say it as pressure will be in terms of bar. So usually it is 880 to 1080 is the normal pressure. So all under this circumstances, if you read a particular value, then you call it as static. With a very low changes of only is allowed. Okay, you might have done in machines lab, keep it in 230 volt, one particular voltmeter you will keep it in 230 volt. You will not, that is field. So if you take any generator, you say field side and armature side. If the field side, what is the value, on armature side what is the value, field side, which is nothing but you are giving to magnetize, and that voltage will not change. Okay, it will be constant. Only under some circumstances it will try to decrease if there is increase in temperature and all, then you will again slightly modify and bring it to the rated value of field, and that meter which is showing the value of field is called static characteristics. On other side, you will have a meter for measuring the output voltage, of your generator, which depends upon the prime mover. If you are changing the speed of the prime mover, automatically voltage will change, and that voltage you call it as dynamic characteristics. Okay, so this is the difference, and there should not be any mechanical disturbance. If there is mechanical disturbance, then also your needle will deflect. You have to try to maintain that there is no mechanical disturbance. So that is what basically a static. And various static characteristics are accuracy, precision, sensitivity, linearity, reproducibility, repeatability, resolution, threshold, drift, stability, tolerance, and range or span, we call it. So we will see one by one. So first let us move on to accuracy. What is meant by accuracy is nothing but, for an example, if you put a standard meter, if that standard meter is nothing but it has been calibrated, so when what you are giving is an accurate value. To that, if you connect another meter from your lab, and you all might have done your machines lab, you might have done so many experiments, and you might have drawn the graph, and you might have even shown our machines in the machines lab is around 80% efficient, but that is not at all possible because our meter itself is 30% error will be there in our meter. So that error we call it as accuracy. It is not, it is the degree of closeness with which the reading approaches to the true value. So from the true value there will be always deviation. How much you deviate is called your accuracy level. Okay, so there are some meters which we use in our machines lab is costing around not more than 3000, but when you go for standard meters and all, it may cost around 10 or 20,000, same voltmeter, where it will show the accurate value or the true value. Okay, the accuracy can be expressed as point accuracy, accuracy as a percentage of scale span, then accuracy as a percentage of true value. Point accuracy is, see, my meter doesn't want to have any wide scale of deflection because it is going to show just a value. So in that case, I will not go for a meter with accuracy of percentage to scale, where I go for point accuracy. So such accuracy is specified at only one particular point. So if the meter is kept to that particular point alone, you can say that it is accurate. If it is moved from that particular point, then accuracy will come down. So that is called a point accuracy. It does not give any information about the accuracy at other point on the scale. So if you go and buy a point accuracy voltmeter, then they will say it is for 230 volt or 415 volt, they will say, and that will show very accurate value only for that particular voltage, and no specification will be there for the accuracy at other points. Okay, so that is the first one. Then accuracy as a percentage of scale pan. So when an instrument has a uniform scale, again I should ask a question that when you will have uniform scale in your meter and when you will have a non-uniform scale. Okay, any instrument if they give to you, just by seeing the scale itself you can say that whether that instrument belongs to AC or DC. Okay, so all DC meters will have a uniform scale. When a voltmeter of DC voltmeter or DC ammeter is given to you, the DC voltmeter and DC ammeter scale will be always uniform. So from that itself you can say that that meter is used for measuring DC. When you see AC meters, initially it will be compressed from 0, it will jump to 1, 1.5, 2, then it gradually you have a value of 0.2, 0.4, 0.6. So initially you will have a jump, then you will have a wide range of scale. So that you call it as for AC. And this type of accuracy, second one, accuracy as a percentage of scale span, that is for DC meters, where you should have uniform scale. So its accuracy may be expressed in terms of scale range. So that is for second one. And third one is accuracy as a percentage of true value. The best way of to conceive the idea of accuracy is to specify in terms of true value of quantity. This is for AC meters. So in AC meter I cannot talk anything with respect to scale, or I cannot talk with respect to any particular point. Already this fellow is an alternating nature, so there will be alternating in fashion will be there. So in that case, when you go for any meter, if you are going to buy a meter and you are asking with respect to accuracy, then you should know. See, all these subjects why we are reading is you are being trained to be operated in a practical situation. So you should know what type of meter is required, what type of sensing is required for a particular application. Okay, just when you want to buy a meter and put it where at a particular value that meter should show, then you should only go for point accuracy type of meters. When it is for DC, you can say accuracy percentage on scale span. They will write the scale span is around 10, scale span is around 20, which you mean to say is from 0 to 10 or 0 to 20, this fellow will be accurate. You are not supposed to put beyond that particular scale value. Okay, and last one is for true, which we use it for AC, where entire scale should have an uniformity. So sorry, not uniformity, it should work for an accurate value. So that is third type of accuracy. Then comes precision. There is a difference between accuracy and precision. Precision is nothing but it is a measure of reproducibility. Whenever you see at all time what is the value which is being showing, so that we call it as it is highly precious. For example, you buy a watch, whether it is possible that all the watch can show different times, which means for 60 seconds should be common for all. Time taken for 60 seconds by your watch should be common with the 60-second time taken by the next watch. Then only we can say it is precious. So that is why we use a quartz crystal, and we say that quartz crystal is highly precious. That means when you give an electric pulse, the vibration cost will be always same, which means always the reproducibility is exactly same. So that is called as precious. So there is a difference between accuracy and precious. Precious is compared by two characteristics. One we call it as conformity, and then next one is number of significant figures. From the word itself it is very clear. Conformity is I am confirming there is none other than this, so that is called as conformity. And number of significant figures, the precision of the measurement is obtained from number of significant figures in which the reading is expressed. The significant measure is conveyed by your value of nth measurement by average value of entire measurement value. So if you are taking for an nth value, so again I will give an example with voltmeter itself. So at present if you see the voltmeter, it is showing 230. Okay, then from morning to evening we will see what and all the reading was shown by the same meter. So it might have seen 231, 230, 229, 228, like that it will change. See, this change is not because of supply change, that you should understand. See, for example, when you go to application like textile industry, where textile industry your cloth will be rolled over so many rollers. So each roller will have a unique task like conditioning your cloth material, your texture. So this cloth will run over all the rollers. At any circumstances, the roller speed should not vary. If the roller speed is varying, obviously the entire material is waste. Okay, so it has to roll at a particular speed alone, and this roller speed is being set by use of varying the voltage. So you will vary at the voltage and keep it in a particular voltage so that the roller is rotating at that particular speed. If any small deviation also will cause a big issue, so that time we will measure with the person who is with the point scale, and we will say it as when you compare its precision. So from morning till evening, what and all the values shown by that particular fellow, you will take an average of it, and if you subtract it with the value of measurement divided by that your again value of measured value, you get precision. So it should be always 0. The value of xn minus xn bar divided by xn bar should be 0. So if it is 0 only, you will get a precision of 1, because the formula is very clear. It is 1 minus of this magnitude. Okay, average, again we say average value, you cannot take it as if it is showing 221, it is 1. If it is 229, then is also 1. Okay, sign is not material there. Whether you have to set it in 230, 231 or 229, both are same. That is value is minus 1. Okay, so we will not take any minus in our consideration. So that is why we are putting modularity. So totally if you see, it has to be 0. So 0 only you will have I precious. Okay, so this is your second static characteristics. And third one is sensitivity. sensitivity example, even we can say ourselves. Okay, all student will not have same sensitivity. Some way take everything serious and they may respond, and some they will not take it as serious itself, so they will not respond. So same way for our device also, sensitivity which denotes the small change in the measured value to which the measurement responds. I have given a value, but I am seeing whether it is responding or not. If it is not responding, then it is have very low sensitivity. Whatever I give, if that particular person is going to respond, then we say he is highly sensitive. So you can see the graph that for change there is a small deviation, then there is a small change, again their linearity increases. So in this region what happens is your sensitivity is slightly less compared to the sensitivity of starting as well as at the ending portion. Again, this sensitivity depends upon so many factors. See, at one day we might be very fresh from our house, there was no issue, everything went normal. In that case, when you come and sit inside the class, you will have more sensitivity. Okay, if you have already been disturbed by some other situation at home, okay, then that case, if the same person is attending the class, his sensitivity will be very less. So we should not come to a conclusion that he is bright, he is dull and all. Okay, again it depends upon the situation. Similarly, your sensitivity of the device also will change. That is because of some non-linearity of the device. Since human itself has non-linearity, all device will have its own non-linearity. So non-linearity, some scale they will work super, on some scale they will not work as per our requirement. So that is why you can see this, there is a change. Initially this fellow is working superly, then there is some drop, again it is used to cope up. So that is what the characteristics of a particular device. Okay, next is linearity. There is a difference between sensitivity and linearity. In sensitivity we say, for small change what is a small, for the small change what is your response, whereas linearity is totally depends upon the non-linearity. So non-linearity, totally when you say non-linearity, that is with respect to linearity. If the person is having non-linearity, then he will not have linearity in its response. The linear output of the displacement sensor is proportional to the amount of displacement. It is almost linear, but there is a little gap between the actual line. See, you can see there is only small difference, which is upside down graph, that's all. For sensitivity and linearity, the graph is upside down. Okay, initially swell was at the bottom, now swell is at the top side. So that is the difference between linearity and sensitivity. This is also called as linearity error. The amount which deviates, we call it as linearity error. Okay, so this portion you call it as linearity error. Then comes reproducibility. Reproducibility is, if you do morning first hour we give test, then we move on to second hour, third hour, fourth hour, and then finally if you come to 8th hour, the same answer what you wrote in first hour you will not write it in 8th hour, even though same person was same, you have read it, you have a knowledge, but the knowledge transfer will change. Okay, so but for a system, if you say it should have a high reproducibility, whenever I ask it should say the same value. So that is, you can see from this graph. So for change in V, they have measured change in I for run 1, run 2, run 3, run 4, run 5 and run 6. Okay, so when there is was run 1, you can see for change in V there is a huge change in I. Okay, it is similar to a person who is going to run in Olympic or any other thing. Under first run you will have high energy, so you will run at a very faster speed. Then if it is go on, if you ask him to run again and again, automatically energy will come down, and automatically is change in V with change in I will be there. So same case in case of your equipment also, but in equipment what you have to say, it is not energy, it is the temperature. Okay, so when you take first time of reading, all the component inside is nothing but resistive material. So slowly what will happen, for first run to second run, the temperature will rise. If temperature rise, what happens, current will fall, because power remains constant. So what you give is what is being measured. If what is given is directly measured, then no problem. If some loss, loss is nothing but in the form of temperature. So when heat is generated, automatically what will happen is current will come down, because power has to be again constant even with the losses. So you can see from the first run the current level is high, then when the run is second run, third run, fourth run, there is a small deviation, and again this small deviation is acceptable. There should not be more deviation. If more deviation is there, the material used for your sensing is not used. You have to change the metal. That metal itself is not allowed. See, if you there is a metal like copper, aluminum, silver, gold, and so many things, all they have their characteristics. Some whatever current it flows, there won't be any temperature produced, but there are some metals, if the current is there, more heat will be generated. Okay, so you can say depends upon the conductivity of the particular material. So if you want an instrument that should have high reproducibility, then you should use a metal such that it has high conductance. For example, like gold, silver, and all. The very super person is only gold, but I cannot go and manufacture all instrument with gold. Okay, then cost will be very high. Again, all these characteristics depends upon only the application where you are going to use. Some application just reading the value is more than sufficient. Where you require very accurate value, then you go for highly costly equipment where error is minimum. Okay, again I repeat, reproducibility is nothing but at various situation how your instrument is going to vary. So if you are repeatedly conducting the experiment again and again, but it should have show the same value, but due to temperature rise, some will be in the form of loss, so obviously it will come down. So that is called as reproducibility is less. Okay, so next is repeatability. It is defined as the variation of scale reading and random in nature drift. So drift, I think you might have heard this word somewhere, drift current and diffusion current. What is meant by drift current and what is meant by diffusion current is when two different person are brought closer to each other, there will be flow from one person to another person. Okay, for example, if two are at various temperature, let us assume one person is very high temperature, another is very cold. What will happen if you bring them closer to each other? The surface which is touching, there will be a temperature flow, but entire temperature from the hot will not flow to the cold, only to that surface. You might have even seen this. Take a vessel, pour cold milk into it or cold water into it, keep it in your burner. What happens? This hot will not, at an instant itself, this hot will not be transferred to the entire vessel or the milk, only on the surface. So when there is any flow of charge or flow of temperature at the surface, we call it as diffusion. It is only diffused. But if drift means, I will give some external such thing and try to make it to spread. So when you, again I will come back to kitchen itself, where you have a vessel, you have a milk. Usually what they will do is, when you want to make your milk boil at faster rate, you put an stirrer. Take an stirrer, and if you try to stir it, what will happen is temperature will be fastly distributed to entire region and it will get boiled up easily. Okay, so that what they will do at home also. So that is called diffusion and drift. Okay, now we are in drift. Zero drift is, I have not connected anything to my meter, but my meter is not showing zero at all. It may show 1, 2. That type we call it as zero drift. Span drift, which is nothing but, again it is related with sensitivity drift. Here what we say is, at the scale, entire scale, there will be always drift in value. Okay, then zonal drift, which means at low value the meter will work. When you go for high scale with the same meter, then there will be a drift. Okay, so that is the three type of repeatability. So we see zero is, there is a three different colors. So okay, one is black, one is blue, and one more is red. This blue, which is indicating for zero drift, where you can see it is not at all starting from zero. I have not given anything, but it has started from y axis it has not started from intersection of two axes, whereas it starts from y axis. So this we call it as zero shift. If the whole calibration gradually shift due to slippage, this is nothing but a permanent damage. And we will have a spring and all, and then spring has gone to its aging. So due to that, this fellow will not come even to zero at all. He will get welded at a value greater than 0. Okay, so that is called zero shift. Then span, you can see this red line is for showing span. Actually it has to coincide with this black line, but what you can see is initially it is coinciding. When gradually you increase, after a further instant there is a small deviation between the black and red. Okay, that we call it as span drift. So at the entire scale of your operation there is a shift. It is shifting from its initial value should be shown, and there is a error. Okay, zonal drift is same as span drift, only is for particular span alone, for a particular, say for this alone, if it is deviating, then we call it as zonal drift. Okay, in case of drift occur only at a portion of the span of an instrument, it is called as zonal drift. So next we have to move to resolution. Resolution will come into picture when you talk about any analog to digital conversion. Okay, so in that case we call it as resolution. So if the input is slowly increased from some arbitrary input value, it will gain to be found that output does not change at all until a certain increment is exceeded. That is called as resolution. When you say analog to digital, if you are giving analog voltage, analog 0, analog 0.001, 0.002, 0.1, till that instant your ADC will show digital value as 0 itself. Okay, there will not be any. See this, you can see when you come to final year, and if you do project with some ultrasound sensor or infrared sensor, they will say minimum distance is 0.6 meter. So anything less than 0.6, there won't be any variation in my output at all. It will show the same output. So you say that the resolution is beyond this particular value only you will have a resolution. Okay, so that is with respect to characteristics with respect to resolution. Then threshold, there is a difference between repeatability, resolution and threshold. Threshold is, see, if I say listen the class, then you that might have not entered into your brain, because our human brain has a capability of not doing a single work. It can do more than 3 or 4 work at a time. Okay, even now if you sit before your mobile or tab, you cannot say 100% your brain is working with your what you are seeing. Okay, so it will do multiple tasks. It will think about what to do after 11:30. It will think about what is happening in the next room. It will think about what is going on in TV, what his mother is doing. All that thing it will simultaneously it will do. So if you are giving a new job, then at an instant when you give the job, your brain will not work. So it requires some threshold, some like volume, lightly increased volume. So if your mother says with a very feeble voice, if you try to listen, you can listen, but that will not come into your brain because that is less than your threshold value. So threshold, we say that is minimum required. Only if that minimum is required, when the value crosses that minimum, only you will start to respond. Okay, so one more example I can say, if you have any MOSFET, you might have studied. MOSFET is a device, we call it as voltage control device. So voltage control device, you have a person called gate, you have drain to source. We all know semiconductor is for flow of electron from, you have to control the flow of electron, and MOSFET is an active device. So whenever you give gate voltage, your device will get turned on. But when you give 2 volts across your gate, your MOSFET will not turn on, not for 3, not for 4 and all. So what is the minimum voltage which is required is, we call it as VTH, minimum gate turn on voltage, or minimum threshold voltage, or we call it as a value of around 8 volts. So after 8 volts only that MOSFET is able to turn on. So similar way your instrument also will have some threshold. You cannot say it has to start from 0. So with some minimum value, only if it is crossing, then your instrument will start functioning. So that is called as threshold. Okay. Now next we go for stability. More stable, less stable. Stability is the ability of the instrument to retain its performance throughout a specified operating life. So you install a meter, you can measure it in morning, then afternoon, then evening. Okay, what will be the change between these three? What will be in morning condition, what will be in afternoon, and what will be in the evening condition? So when you see in morning condition, both humidity will be less, your pressure will be less, as well as your temperature will be less. When you move from morning 7 o'clock to when you reach around 12:01, what will happen is temperature will rise. What about pressure? Pressure will increase or decrease. And what about moisture? So there will be change in moisture level. So then even your pressure will change. The pressure will change depend upon the altitude of the you are placing your meter. When you place the meter at ground floor, meter at first floor, meter at 10th floor, or meter at the 20th or 30th floor. So there will be a pressure change between this region, because once land gets heated up, your air is moved up, so automatically pressure will fall. Okay, so that is what stability. Under all situation, how I am going to behave. So with the external changes also, how I am able to say, some person we say more stable, which means if you ask them to attend class, even though they have so many personal issues, they will sit and listen, which means they are highly stable. If just a previous hour you might have got anything from scolding, then if you are unable to listen, which means it stays you are an unstable, because you are unable to come back to your normal. So that we call it as stability. Tolerance is the maximum allowable error in the measurement in a specific in terms of some values, which is called tolerance. Usually when you say resistor, I think last line in your resistor coding, you might have seen gold color, silver color and all, which means that is going to tell about your tolerance, whether it is 5% tolerance or 10% tolerance, so that it will show you how much percent is tolerance. So without any tolerance also we cannot manufacture any particular device. All will have a particular level of tolerance. Only depending upon your work, you whether I say there's low tolerance or high tolerance. Okay. So range and span, each and every meter will have its own range, starting value and ending value, the minimum and maximum value of the quantity for which the instrument is designed to measure is called the range or the span. See, you might have seen this in your EDC lab, where they say 0 to 10, 0 to 30 voltmeter, and similarly current they will say millimeter, ammeter, millimeter, micrometer, where you say 0 to 10 milliamps, then 0 to 500. So that is nothing but the range and the span. So each and every devices will have its own range and span. Okay, so with that static characteristics is over. So now let us move on to dynamic characteristics. So dynamic characteristics, I have told, where instrument is going to read not a single value, it is going to vary with respect to time. The measurement value varying with respect to time, then you say it as you are measuring its dynamic characteristics. Okay, always there will be a difference between a static characteristics and a dynamic characteristics. See, if you are asked to sit and do a particular work, you will do it at some particular efficiency. Same thing if you are asked to do by like just walk and do the same work, then obviously your performance will change. So that is what we say here, static characteristics and dynamic characteristics. So various dynamic characteristics are speed of response measuring lag, fidelity, then dynamic error. So I think all terms you are able to understand with respect to dynamics. So all this we have not spoken with respect to static at all, because in static there is no speed in response, because you are going to reading at only at a particular value. Measuring lag is, gradually your reading is varying, and for this varying, what is the lag, how it is trying to go and catch it. Okay, so you say that induction motor and synchronous motor, you have difference between what, between two. Induction motor will always have some lag. If you try to reduce that lag, your motor will stop. So when you try to reduce and try to bring that lag between the rotating magnetic field and the magnetic field which is set up, obviously the motor will stop at one instant. That is called property of induction motor. Whereas in case of synchronous motor, this measuring lag will be, or the lag will be very very less, because it will get locked with the synchronism. Only if you load, it will start lagging. So just I am saying this for to understand what is lagging. Okay, because we say dynamic characteristics, I am not reading at a particular value, the value is changing, so my meter needle position will also continuously be in changing. So if actual value and time taken for my meter to reach that particular value, we call it as lagging. Then feasibility, then comes your dynamic error. So let us see one by one. Speed of the response, it is defined as the rapidity with which a measuring system responds to the change in the measured quantity. So it is changing from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, again coming 3, 2, 1, again it will go to 2, 3, 4, 5, then it will go and touch 10, again it will come 9, 8. So speed of response, how fast I am able to catch up and go and stand at that particular position, is called as response. Okay, then measuring lag is I have to show 10 but I will show 8, then if I have show 11, then I will show 9, that is called as lagging. It is the retardation. See, I have no energy, so I am my response is not so good. Due to the slow response, I am trying to go in delay. The delay in response of measurement of a system to the change is measured quantity, we call it as measuring lag. The measuring lag is again of two: retardation type, time delay. So retardation is, we say humans can work from at the age of 18 to at the age of 58. You pick a person at the age of 59 or 60, you will have sound knowledge, you will have sound experience, all that you will have, but he has gone for retardation. Retardation is, government why say go and stay at home at 58, because your response or your measuring lag will be more. That type of measuring lag we call it as retardation. And the second one is time delay lag. That is the case of an 18 years old guy. There is a difference between 58 years old guy and an 18 years old guy. This 18 years old guy is not tuned for that job, so there he will work always with the delay. Okay, just wait for 5 minutes. So time delay lag is like a 19 years or 20 years who just stepped into a company. He might have stayed in home for 2 to 3 years, leisurely spending the time and all. Now if he is asked to work at some specific speed, then there will be some delay, and this is only a delay. You will try to catch up and complete it, but the first one is retardation, is whatever you give effort, you cannot do it at that same level what this 19 years guy is doing. Okay, that is called as retardation. So measurement lag, you are not supposed to write this story and all, this I am just saying just to understand. So measuring lag is whenever you have an instrument which has been bought 10 years back or 12 years back, and that instruments or that sensing or that type of device will has worked already for so many years, and that springs gets loosened up, all such things that leads to retardation type, and you might have bought a very new and which is not put it in your equipment and all, and if you are using after a long time without using in your circuit, then it will have some time delay and then it will get catch up that particular measuring value. Okay, next is that is what been told here. So let us move on to next one. Then it is fidelity. It is defined as the degree to which a measurement system indicates change in the measure and the quantity without dynamic error. So if I am highly feasible, if they tell, which means that is capable of changing from one position to other position without having any dynamic error. So I should know what is dynamic error. It is the difference between the true value of the quantity changing with time and the value indicated by the measuring instrument if no static error is assumed. So dynamic error depends upon even static error. When you talk about dynamic error, you should assume that the device does not have any static error, because if it is having static error, then that will get reflected in your dynamic error. So what you calculate for dynamic error will become wrong, because static error, what you have told, you are asked to the person to stand at the same position, but if you are asked to go and stand in sun for 3 or 4 hours, first 1 hour you will stand without any vibration, then you will start lifting your left leg, right leg, try to bend forward, backward, all such things you will do. All such things are called as static error. You are standing, you are not sitting, and you are standing, you are not ran away from where you are standing, but there will be a small change between the values, a small forward or small backward change value, that is static. And this error, if it is there, that will even reflect on dynamics of the device also. So when you say you are going to measure about your dynamic error, you assume that there is no static error in that particular device. Okay, so next let us move on to classification of transducer. Even if you put transducer or sensor or actuator, all are same. Okay, because all classification is there for all the two types. What sensors classification, the same type classification is for transducer also is there. And your classification is like on the basis of principle used, and what principle that particular sensor or transducer is working. Based upon that, I have classified into capacitive, inductive and resistive. Then whether it is required any external supply for that measuring instrument or it doesn't want any external supply, we classify into active and passive. A best example is voltmeter and a multimeter. Voltmeter is nothing but the which you might have used in your machines lab, which doesn't require any supply. Just you connect it to person you want to measure, you will show the value. So that is called as passive device. Active device, same voltage measuring, but with the help of multimeter you might have done in digital lab, and without any battery your multimeter will not work, and that falls under active device. So that is the difference between active and passive. In case of passive, no external supply is required. In case of active, some external supply is required. So that is the difference between an active and a passive. Then primary and secondary. Primary and secondary, it is similar to your school. You call it as primary school, secondary school. What is the difference between primary school and a secondary school? Primary is nothing but is the front end, a raw baby which doesn't know anything. So you have to teach to the raw baby and try to show what is A, what is B and what is C, all that characteristics. Once it has been taught with the primary, then we move on to secondary. Then I can, whatever I want, I can teach to that particular child. Similarly, your sensor, you have primary sensor and secondary sensor. So primary sensor will be connected close to your area where you are going to sense. So I will sense, but it will not be to that much magnitude. It will be small in magnitude, and that is not sufficient for me to do my calculation. Then what I will do is I will go for a secondary. So input from the primary will be given to secondary, and secondary will try to amplify. All such thing will be done in secondary. See, even though you say amplification, that is also a sensor. Input you are giving a low value signal that is being given with an high value output, and for the change in input there is change in output, so that is can also be called as a sensor. So that is called primary and secondary. So primary level sensor, then secondary level sensor, then analog and digital, that is nothing but what you are going to measure. So what you are going to measure, based on that I can call it as analog sensing devices, then digital sensing devices. There are some analog sensing devices and digital. We will see what and all digital sensing and all, like optical reader, all that encoders, optical encoders, all that will be a digital output. Whereas analog, you have more temperature sensors where LM35 and all, who is going to measure in terms of analog value. Okay, then comes your transducer and inverse transducer. Based upon transducers, we will have so many classification. So broadly I say transducers may be classified according to their application, method of energy conversion, nature of the output signal, and so on. So based upon that we have so many classification. So for today let us start with resistive transducer. This is the first one. Okay, first of all, so first we have resistive, then inductive, capacitive, based upon the principle of operation. So when you start saying resistive transducer, we all know you have a long wire. If the length of this wire is changing, then obviously resistance will change. If the resistance is changing, then current will change. If the resistance is reduced, current will increase. If the resistance increase, then your current will come down. Okay, so you have made a sensor. So that is what is called as resistive. So in otherwise called as resistive sensor, it is used to measure the temperature, pressure, displacement, force, vibration, etc. To understand the working principle, consider a conductor rod. Resistive sensor works on the principle that the conductor length is directly proportional to the resistance of the conductor and is inversely related to area of the conductor, and now we will not use this A at all. Therefore L is demonstrated for conductor length, A for the area of conductor. See, in a sensor I cannot vary the area and all, but I can vary the L. So let us first see one is sliding contact device. Sliding contact, one terminal is fixed. See, supply is given to that entire resistor column, and another side you have a slider, and you try to measure the voltage. See, this voltage is fixed. You give a fixed voltage here, and that voltage is applied to the entire fellow, and you have a slider. If the slider moves up and down, there will be a change in voltage. So depending upon the slider position, see, if I keep the slider here, what happens, and if I keep the slider here, what happens. If the slider is kept here, more voltage will be on my output side because no resistor is involved. See, it starts from here, it will come to this, current will come to this particular end, and if your slider is in this particular instant itself, then nothing is dropped on this resistor, the entire thing will go out. So what is you give will be your output. Okay, if the slider is slightly brought down, what happens is, if the slider is in this particular position, then this resistance are involved, so drop after passing this resistance will be given out. And if you move and bring it to here, what happens is more resistor is there, so more loss, and the remaining alone will be your output. And finally if you touch here, it will become 0. So when you move this slider, the output value will change. So now this is a sensor connected to some other application where if you move this, automatically you have a variable out. That's all. This is called as sliding contact device. So every sliding contact type of resistive transistor consists of long conductor whose length can be varied. So this length can be varied. One end of the conductor will be fixed, while the other end of the conductor is connected to a slider or a brush which moves along the full length of the conductor. So he can move along this full length. The slider is connected to the object whose displacement is to be measured. So we will connect it here. So when it moves up and down, we are able to measure the displacement. So we have done a first type of sensing device. So this you might have seen in lab, okay, where you are supposed to move. So we call it as rheostat. So rheostat will have two fixed end and one variable end. So this top, if you connect, and if you connect one more bottom which is not visible from this side, this you have to connect it here. So when you connect it here, and if you try to connect at this particular point, then whatever position it is standing, that resistance will be added. So for example, one terminal you have connected here and one terminal you have connected here, and if you keep this fellow here, which is nothing but entire resistance is coming into picture. See, from here it starts, so you will have windings, all this is been energized, and then it touches this particular thing. So remaining this part will not have any current flow, only current will flow through these windings, and then it will pass from this contact and it will go out. So this is what you might have used in laboratory, which is a manual one. Okay, this is this is having an hydraulic inside, and this hydraulic will try to move. If that hydraulic is moving, obviously I will try to have a right up arrangement, and inside this rod I have a conductor. So if this is moving, automatically you will get an output. Okay, so when there is a movement that is been identified and given, this is not for the movement of this valve arrangement. This valve arrangement movement is not done by me, and that movement is read by the sensor with the principle of potentiometer. Okay, so potentiometer concept is being used to identify the displacement taking place. Displacement is not taken care by my device, kindly understand. Now we are not dealing with how to make the displacement. Displacement is occurring, try to read how the displacement is occurring with an help of potentiometer. Okay, and similarly this is readily available. You can even connect it to your Arduino board. So this is also one more linear type. So this is what we have seen is also a linear, which means linear motion is read. Okay, forward or backward, when you say, it is called linear. So linear motion is read. Similarly, this is also for linear. So this you can keep it for any project when you want to vary. So if you vary this, obviously the input given will vary. So obviously you will have some change. Okay, so this is a practical example. Then comes your angular potentiometer. Angular potentiometer is nothing but the input for my potentiometer is not in with respect to what we have seen with the previous as linear, whereas here it going to be in the form of rotation. So that is why we call it as angular. So when you rotate this top knob, what happens is this slide position will change depending upon the slide position. So if you keep here, what will happen is maximum when you start connecting from this end. Okay, if you have connected to this end, and you should not talk about this fellow. If you are connected one terminal here and another terminal here, when you keep it here, you will have minimum. When you keep it here, you will have maximum. In the same case, if you keep it here at this instant and this instant, if you are giving connection, it will be reversed. So are you able to understand whether you want to clockwise reading or anti-clockwise reading? See, some application requires clockwise rotation has to be identified, and some will require anti-clockwise rotation identification. So when anti-clockwise rotation is required, you have to connect this two fellow. When you go for clockwise, you have to connect this two. All that is only you will get this knowledge when you do project. Okay, really just studying the subject is not at all big issue, because when you go to industry, they will ask why 3 terminal is there. You say you are going to change your resistance with respect to changing this knob alone. In that case, 2 is sufficient. No, just you want to rotate. If you rotate, there will be a change in resistance between these two, you can say. But why the one more person is kept? That is to say how you are going to rotate, whether you are going to rotate in this direction or in this direction. Depending upon the rotation of clockwise or anti-clockwise, you have to select this terminal. So that is all this you will get idea when you do project. Okay, then comes your one more type of resistive sensor we will see, and with that we will stop. Okay, I know the difficulty. Constantly sitting for 1 hour itself is a little bit tedious, and I will not take for 1.5 hours and all, because again that is our range. So since we are reading sensor and transducer, then that is our range, beyond which we will go for saturation, so nothing will be read. Okay, now let us see with the light dependent resistor. So light dependent resistor is when there is a light source falling on that particular device, what will happen is the resistance value will change. If more intensity is falling on that particular device, then more amount of resistance will come down. Okay, if no light, the resistance will be maximum. And LDR is a component that has a resistance that change with the light intensity that fall upon it. It allows them to be used as a light sensing circuit. So when you want to sense the light, you go for LDR. So if you want even your street lights to be operated based upon the light of the sun, you can set, okay, so that power will not be wasted. So once morning 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, in summer it will come in 5 o'clock itself, in winter it will come even in 6:30. So depending upon that, you can turn on and turn off your street lights. There is no requirement for a person to come and turn on and turn off if you put an LDR. So photoresistor is a passive component. Again, this is not active because you don't require any external field for operation of your LDR. So it is a passive component. The decrease in resistance with respect to receiving luminosity on the compound sensitivity surface. So one surface will be glass. On that surface alone you are supposed to give your light source. So once you give your light source, temperature will reduce. The resistance of photoresistor decreases with the increase in light intensity. In other words, it exhibits photoconductivity. The resistance of photoresistor decreases with the increase of intense light. So we call it as it is photoconductivity. So appearance of LDR will be like this. So a polished surface on one side where you are supposed to make the light to fall on this particular surface. So once this light falls, what happens is, initially resistance is very high resistance. So when you connect this to any circuit, it is nothing, open circuit. When you are no light, it is open. When light is there, it will try to close the circuit. Okay, so you can see here at dark it is around 10 power 8 ohms. So when it moves from dark to day, it will directly fall in temperature. When luminous is more, your resistance has come down. You should know why the scale is put till only 1000. What beyond 1000, why it is not putting, all such things you should know. I will tell you, because sun's lambda is 1000. Sun source is the considered as a maximum light source. So for maximum light source, it is only from sun. Whatever light source you say which is not as compared to sun, on sun's light source wavelength is lambda, and that lambda is 1000 radians. So that is why we are putting the scale maximum as 1000. Okay, so now see the circuit setup for to turn on and turn off the light. Okay, what we will do, see, this is your, consider this to be your street light. So now we want to turn on this street light based upon the light source. Or now I am saying a reverse application where if the light falls, then this LED will burn. If the light is not falling, this particular LED will not glow. Only a small change is required, just interchange the terminal, that's all. So now see what happens. I am giving VCC, then my sensitivity of the device is being selected by this potentiometer. What is the sensitivity I require? So if I vary this voltage will vary, and this is the reference voltage which I am giving. I can give whatever reference value, I can give it here. So based upon the reference value only, this LED is going to blink. Okay, LED is going to glow. So if I keep high sensitivity, means then I should keep very high value of voltage, which means this is, if it is 5 volt, I am adjusting such that I am keeping it as 4 volt. What happens is it has high sensitivity. Like that you have to talk about sensitivity. Now I have connected same VCC via this resistor. If there is no light source, this resistance and this resistance, you will have a potential divider. So very high resistance, so nothing will flow here, so everything will flow in this. So you can see when there is no light source, you have a maximum voltage, because this is similar to open, because he is very high. If he is very high, nothing will flow across this path, so this path is open. So under normal condition, this path is open, so only from VCC value of R remaining thing will come and enter. So you will have a maximum value, and output of this will be there when this terminal is maximum, because this is given with the plus and this is given with the negative. So if this negative terminal is greater than 3, you will not have any output. the output of the op amp, you will have output only if this positive terminal value is less with compared to this. So now what I am going to do is I will bring my light source near to this. When you bring this light source near to this, what happens, this resistance fall, so some current will flow through this also, so there will be a voltage drop. So what happens is this voltage drop will start decreasing. At one instant when I am bringing so close, this voltage will be less than this voltage. Under that circumstances, this op amp will be turned on and you will have an output and your LED will glow. So this situation, what I have done is I have brought this LED very closer, this light source I have brought very closer to this LDR. So once which I have very closer I have brought, what happens is the voltage drop is there. You can see now the voltage of 2 is less than the voltage of 3. Because of this resistance is fixed, only thing this resistance is falling. So previously there was no current flow, it is similar to open circuit. Now what happens is current starts to flow. When current starts to flow here, obviously some voltage will drop, and due to that voltage drop, this voltage has come down from 4 volt to 0.6 volt. So now what happens is this LED will glow, and if you want reverse of it, you can just interchange the terminals and you can use it. So with this we will stop for today's class. So let us discuss, do you have any doubts, so that can be